Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. This is Asim and today I'm going to kick off the Python automation series. I talked about this in the previous UPI Recon CLI video. In this series what I'm going to help you with is you can start with minimal coding, like even if you don't have any coding knowledge, that's fine. You can just grasp on it and look over Google while I'm explaining the concepts. It's very simple to create some small tools. So the first tool that I'm going to create is a website scraper kind of thing. We'll try to get useful information from it. Slowly we'll progress and we'll transform it into a hidden file folder scraper kind of thing, so that we can get Git folders and all those kinds of stuff. So in the very first part I'll talk about how you can use the very first hello world thing in Python, and then I'll continue with how you can do requests online. Once both of these is done, I'll show you to get data from some of the websites and what are different status codes and all those kinds of stuff. Some basic string manipulation will be taught meanwhile in this. I'll try to keep it less than 15 minutes so that you can easily consume it and try to practice it while you are also viewing the content. Slowly we'll see what problems we'll get into and we'll try to solve that. Like in the second part you would see that a single threaded application is how it's slow to get data, and then how we'll use it to do multi-threading. I'll also try to bring on a Golang series, because Golang concurrency model helps to get data very fast and it's very easy to implement that concurrency thing. So I'll also try to pack in some common tools like UPI Recon, the Python version as well as the Golang version, how the code is structured and how you can use it to your benefit. With that said, let's get started. So here we are, and this is the Python download page. I'll be showing you first how to set up Python, and then we'll continue with a hello world program. Like any program where you start with, it's usually the hello world program. We'll try to print it on the screen. I'll also make you set up ipython so that you can easily iterate over different things. Then we'll try to send some requests, because that's how our scanner would be coming up. After we have this request, I'll show you a shortcut as to how you can easily create requests without actually writing the whole thing up. So yeah, with that said, let's get started. So here you can go and download the latest version for Windows, for Linux, or for Mac, and every other thing you can get it there. The installation instructions you can easily find. Let's say if I go to this Windows one, latest Python release, you need to have Python 3.9 or something. Yeah. So I would add the link for this download and the description of these pages, like these articles, so that you can easily set it up. Setting up it is very easy. If you have a Linux environment, I think by default you would have it. If not, it's very easy to set it up. Just need to update the packages, upgrade your system, and then you would have, by default you have Python 3 installed. For macOS also it's the same thing. You can easily install it by brew install Python, or by default you would have Python. Let me show you my terminal. So let's go to this temp. Python -v, sorry, Python 3 version. So Python 3.9.12. So for the whole series you need to have at least Python 3.9. After you have this installed, you would have this. You need to install this Python 3 pip so that you can install any packages. If I show you here, pip 3 install ipython. So ipython is already installed, so that's why I didn't have to install it. Whereas if you don't have ipython installed, this is the instruction how you would install it. You might be experiencing pip 3 or just pip if you have only one version of it, so that's why. So try both of these if that doesn't work out, and these are further instructions to install for Ubuntu version. There's also a method by pyenv and pipx, but I don't think you would need to go into all these intricacies and making it more complex. It's easier so that just set it up by following the instruction on these two pages. So releases for Windows and for Linux first. For macOS also you would easily get it. With that said, let's start with the hello world program. So what I would do is I would create a folder, mkdir, let's say Python web scanner code Python So I use VS Code for doing my coding and everything. So yeah, this is the folder. This is VS Code. It's very easy to set it up and do all like write code for simple scripts and all those kinds of stuff. So that's why I use this. You can use any other IDE or Notepad or any other kind of thing you can use to just write the code. Also, I'm not going into virtual environment and setting up all those things because it would unnecessarily complex the easier stuff. We would come to it later on when we have the use case for it. Right now I'm just gonna straight away create a script and just write it there. So hello world.py and just write print hello world. So you would get all these hints. If you don't get, what you need to do is you just need to go to extensions and search for Python. I think these come installed by default. Yeah, this one is by default installed. If you click on this, you would easily see that 56 million downloads are there, so it's already installed there. You don't need to worry about that. This side panel is where you can see all the files here. So if I just click on this formatter, just close this one. If you get this, you can press Control and tilde operator, the key before left, and it would open the terminal here itself. You don't have to go anywhere else. So let's say I want to run Python 3 hello world.py to just print hello world. That's the very basic thing. This print command is what is printing it out on the screen. Let's say I want to print world in a new line. I would just add a new line character and just do this hello and world. It would be printed into two different lines. So this is some similar, like some very basic string manipulation kind of stuff. Now let's start with what you would actually need to create a web scanner. For a web scanner, you would need to get resources from the website. So basically what you would need to do is you would need to make a request. So any website that you fetch, basically your browser does a request to that website to, hey, please give me the web page, the HTML content that's there. So for that, what you need to do is, let's say I would create a web. I prefer underscores, so scanner.py. There's a library called import requests, and if you go and check the documentations here, request Python request module, and this is how you would get it. So let's just copy it and try to run this Python web scanner.py. So what it's going to do is it's going to go to this website and get the HTML page from there and print the content here. So you can see that this is the content here. If I go to this website and see the actual content, it should be the same. So see, doc type HTML, this is a test page and this is what it is shown here. Now, once we sent a request to this, it was not just the body of the page with HTML content, whereas there was headers also that were there. So I would like to print that as well. So let me show you what happens if you just refresh it. So demo page.html, request responses, this is a test page, let's say raw. In the header section, you get the response headers, what are different headers. So let's say I want to print it out and get this string X powered by, like I want to know this site is running on what kind of software. So what I would do is I would just enter print X dot header. So using VS Code or PyCharm or any other kind of IDE that you use, instead of just Notepad, you would get this autocomplete so that you don't have to remember what all things are there. So just let's say I do this. So it shows me this curly braces. So curly braces is basically a JSON thing, and it shows me all these headers. I'm not sure again. So let me just show you here online. So these are all the headers: accept type, accept range bytes, age, cache control, date. What is the date? Last modified, when this page was last modified. X powered by ASP.NET. So let's say I just want to print this one, and maybe also the size of the page. So these two maybe I want to print. So because this is a JSON, so in Python we call it dictionary. So how you need to access this? There are two ways to access it. Let's say print. Let me assign it to a variable called headers. So now headers is a variable which holds the value of x.headers. So I don't have to write x.headers all the time. So what I can do is x headers and x powered by. This is one of the way, or the other way, which is a more elegant one. I would explain why that's there. headers.get, and let's say I want to get the content length. And if there's no content length, print -1. So let me show you what happens now. ASP.NET and 76 is the content length. So let's say this string may not be available in all the all the headers, right? So maybe you want to print something default there, or let's say you don't want it to fail like this header thing. Instead of like printing garbage, it should print some value. Let's say, for example, if the header length is -1, which means that if the content length is -1, basically that means that in the header there is no content length. So maybe do something on that. So let me give you a realistic example of this. Control-V just copies the whole line. That helps me do this. If headers.get, let's say x powered by, and here is none. So none is a particular, not none. Print, we couldn't figure out what the website is powered by. So let's say this is there. So if there is no header called x powered by, then it would print this. So let me also take let me remove this one. Let me try with my own website. Let's say asimstray.in, because we already know in this demo page this x powered by header is already there. So let's try this one. See what happened here. Print headers x powered by. So this gave an error and the program failed to run properly because this header did not exist there. If you would have used this x.get, this error wouldn't have come. So there are two ways to basically handle this. The elegant way is this one. The other not so elegant way is this try. So basically you add it in try catch. Sorry. Exception as e. This is a very clumsy way of handling it, but that would do for now. Exception in getting header. So what I've used here, instead of, you would see that there's a variable here and it starts with f. So f is it's a f string. So in f string, what you can do is you can straight away add the variables into it. Or else if you would have been using it in the older way, what you would have done is x and then something like this you would have to do. So let's go by this this one. Exception getting header x powered by. So this was handled here. If headers.get x powered by none is not none, is none. And that was a mistake in the logic itself. We couldn't figure out what the website is powered by. So you see that there was no x powered by header in my website. So let's see what headers were there. So I will try to print all the headers. Print headers. You can also use an f string here. Headers. Let's add a new line. New line basically gives a kind of enter onto that. So these are all the headers, and it's very badly written. I mean badly presented. What I would do is I would just use the beautifier.io and paste it here. You can see there's age, cage control, referral policy, X content type options, X frame options, X access protection, expect CT report to server, CFA, alt, SVC. There's a lot of headers. So yeah, I mean there's no X powered by header. That's why it was failing. So we got this and we got the headers. So yeah. Now you might ask, Asim, but do we have to every time write this whole thing, or is there any shortcut? So that's coming to the last part. There's a shortcut to it. So let's say these are very simple requests. Let's say you want to let's say you're loading this page, and let's say let me just give you an example. So just open this console and asimstray.in. So there's this get request and I want to create a Python request out of it. So first click on this, right click on this, open the developer console, right click on the particular request that you want to copy as curl, go to this website called curl trillworks, convert curl commands to code, and just paste it here. You would find all these languages that you can easily convert to. So let's say I go to this, copy to clipboard, and I just instead of X headers, you can just do it response headers. If you want, you can remove any of the headers you want. If you want to remove any cookies, you can do that. Yep, and it would do the same thing in what we were doing earlier. Let me just run this one. So yeah, see the headers are there, exception getting expired by, we couldn't figure out. This might sound not very interesting because this is just the get request, but sometimes what you have to do is you have to fill a form or something or do a complex request. So at that time, just doing a right click, copy curl, and then pasting it there, that makes sense and is a lot faster than this one. So yeah, that's pretty much in this part. In the next part, I would start with a small repo where we would be keeping all the code. I'd start with following some of the best practices so that the code is maintainable even when the code base gets larger. We'll try to grab some useful information like the HTTP, like the HTML title or body, and like getting some useful header information. All those kinds of things we would be trying into. We'd also store the data into CSV so that we can visualize or we can see it on the Google Sheet and do some filtering easily from there. Once that's done, we would try to check for some keywords like dashboard, login, etc. on these web pages. Maybe we'll try to scrape or get the top 100,000 websites and see what bottleneck is there and how we would be resolving it in the later parts. So yeah, with that said, have a nice day.